Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Netflix. It is time for another update, and today we'll be discussing the failure to hold the relevant levels of support for continuation higher within this uptrend, as well as the downgrades this chart has received from me. But before that, I would like to go quickly through the large time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we have been tracking this idea of a series of 1-2 setups, where realistically we would expect this to be a larger wave 3, and then we would expect a larger correction in wave 4. But ideally, we would have liked to see extensions within this structure to the upside, within this fifth wave. As of right now, I would need to consider a possible top to be in place within this area, and a larger wave 4 correction to take place at the levels between the 23.6% retracement all the way down to the 50% retracement. We are talking the levels between the $39.5 all the way down to the $10 level before looking for invalidation. Now, for the purposes of this wave 4 correction, it doesn't matter if we consider this to be a wave 1, if we consider an internal structure within this area to be the wave 1 part of this larger uptrend. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. We are tracking this as a wave 3 to the upside, and if this is to have formed a top within this fifth wave, this is the area of support we would be tracking. Now, of course, extensions are possible even within this structure, even within the current pattern, but it is going to be a low quality structure until we get into deep levels of support, such as for a correction in a wave 4. I would need to see a reliable pattern within a smaller time frame to look for a potential trade setup, because as it stands right now, I could very easily consider this to be a 3-wave move to the upside. It could be, within many interpretations, a more significant top, and we could be looking for a larger retracement. Even if this is a complete 5-wave move to the upside, doesn't really matter. I would still be looking for a deep retracement even in such a scenario, even within the interpretation of still further extensions higher. Yeah, and we will show you the area of support. We will discuss the areas of support and the structures we can track within it. But let's discuss what has failed for context. And here we had this idea of a larger impulse that could have still taken place. We had a 1-2 setup and then a couple of additional 1-2 setups internally within a larger wave 3. We were tracking this as a possible wave 3 top, a wave 4 correction, and then a fifth wave to form a larger wave 3 to the upside. We would have still liked to form additional extensions higher, and we have failed to hold relevant levels of support. We cannot track this scenario anymore. I cannot be looking for continuation within this impulse to the upside. I would either need to consider that a fifth wave is complete or that a larger retracement is in place. And I want to be clear, this does not mean that we cannot find earlier support and continuation higher, but I will need a signal in a smaller time frame before I would look for such a scenario. Right now, I will be focusing here on a potential 1-2 setup, but even in this case, the area of support only starts at the $60 level and goes all the way down to the $25.7 level. It does extend into the larger area of support we would track for a wave 4 correction in the case of a more significant top to be in place, but as of right now, we are still trading well above it, and we should be prepared for a larger correction. There is no structure within this area that is highly suggestive we should expect continuation higher within this structure, and this correction has already been going on for quite a while, and we should be prepared for it to still form larger corrections, larger extensions, and a larger structure. Now, to be clear, this does not mean the previous expectations for this chart would not be available, even this idea of an extended fifth wave, or this to be a 1-2 setup instead, where this would follow up as a wave 3. Yeah, this could still be applicable, this could still work out as a 1-2 setup, but we would need evidence, we would need proof, and as long as we don't have an initial 5-wave move to the upside, I would not have such proof. I would also like to get into the area of support for additional pattern confluence, because right now we are quite a bit in a no man's land. It is quite unclear what type of structure is going to form within this area. Yeah, the war Netflix has been in has taken its toll, and this structure has not managed to form a bottom quickly enough to allow this structure to still extend higher, and right now we are looking for even further extensions lower. Now, within this area, to no one's surprise, we did manage to find structural support at these previous lows. We did mention this in one or multiple of the previous videos. Yeah, we were looking at these structural support levels to allow at least a slowdown in the case of the failure. Yeah, maybe if we only formed a sharp push into those levels and we didn't sustain below the area of support, it could have still also worked out part of the impulse we were tracking. But yeah, right now we seem to be consolidating at these low levels, and I would rather heavily prefer further extensions lower. Now, we had a few scenarios, a few structures we were tracking in this area, and within this blue interpretation we were considering something like a WXY pattern, within which we had here an ABC structure in the wave Y. I believe this actually still works out quite well. It doesn't need to be the preferred interpretation, but I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with tracking this as the main scenario, at least for now. Yeah, at least until we get more evidence of the pattern within this area. In the previous video, we were looking here at the wave C as a 1, 2, 3, 4th and 5th. It seems very plausible that this is just an extension of this 5th wave. We were tracking an ending diagonal in this area, and this could very well work as an ABC structure that has formed to the downside, or even with the wave B top here. Yeah, we were using here even a trend line to determine a signal that this structure has formed a more significant bottom, but we didn't even manage to retest it in these follow-up pushes higher, and we had this significant downfall. Now, as I was saying, I am tracking this at the moment as an ABC structure, although I want you to be very much aware that this could very easily extend into something even more bearish, yeah? This is very easily able to extend even into, possibly an impulse within this area to the downside, or at the very least, for another wave 4 correction in the 5th wave to the downside. Remember, we were tracking also this orange interpretation that was still expecting, after the completion of this structure in wave 3, a 4th and a 5th. This would still allow another correction, another low, before we would have a full structure within this area. It is still very much applicable. I will also track this in the background, but for now we can focus here on the blue interpretation, within which we are tracking this wave C to the downside. And within this wave C, I would consider it very possible to work out also as an impulse. Yeah, this does not need to be an ending diagonal. This could work out as a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th to build the larger structure. And within it, I have to say, I'm still focused on the wave 3. I don't necessarily have evidence that we have formed a bottom within it. I can track this as a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th. Within such a structure, I would expect not to break above the last level of resistance for such a wave 4, which is the 50% retracement. We did get here a slight push above it, but nothing too significant that would suggest it impossible for this to still be tracked. And even if we push higher, once again, I could track this as an ending diagonal, and for that, before we break above the 61.8% retracement at the 86.7, let's say $0.8 level, I would not be looking for a more significant bottom to be in place. I would still be looking for continuation lower as long as we stay below this level of resistance. Now, within this push to the downside, I would be prepared to consider that this 5th wave is undergoing, that it is already forming. We already had enough of a correction within the wave 4. Sure, it could extend more to the sideways, it could extend quite a bit more within a triangle, let's say, but in the end I would still favor continuation lower. We didn't manage to form a sustained break above the $85 level, and we need to be prepared for further continuation lower. Now, we have here this structure in orange. Don't think too much of it. This can work out within both interpretations. This is more within the smaller time frame. We are tracking here a 1, 2 setup, and basically, we are looking for a 3rd wave to form lower, a 4th and a 5th, before we consider this wave C to have a likely bottom in place. Now, I can even give you an ideal target for this wave C before we actually close off, and that would be the 100% extension of the wave A, but it seems we have already achieved it. Yeah, I would be looking next at the $81 level, and the follow-up, the 138.2% extension at the $80 level. But for now, this chart is quite bearish. I'm still looking for lower prices, and these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.